The plane was a beast, rattling through a storm over the Pacific, bound for Sydney on a chilly November evening in 2026. In row 9, window seat, Clara sat quietly, her faded blue hoodie blending into the dim cabin light. Her pale face and downcast eyes made the flight attendant, Melissa, assume she was just another anxious traveler, maybe on her first flight. Clara's silence was heavy, her hands resting on a worn canvas bag, its edges frayed but sturdy, like something you'd pick up at a thrift shop with a story of its own. When the intercom crackled, the captain's voice cut through the hum of the engines. "If any pilots are on board, please identify yourself." Heads turned, but Clara didn't flinch. She pressed the call button, her movement deliberate. Melissa, her smile tight, hurried over. "Ma'am, please stay seated. No need to panic." A man in row 5, a slick executive named Paul with a gold watch, chuckled. "What is this, a Hollywood flick?" The cabin laughed nervously, but the intercom spoke again, its words chilling. "Shadow Wing, if you're listening, come to the cockpit." The air seemed to vanish. Every eye locked on Clara, who sat still, her fingers grazing the bag. Melissa's smile faltered. "Ma'am, you didn't mean to press that, right?" she said, her voice sweet but edged. Clara's pale gray eyes met Melissa's, steady and unyielding. She reached in her bag, pulling out a small, dull, black metal piece, smooth and heavy, like a relic from forgotten war. No one knew what it was, but the way she held it calm, like it was part of her, made Paul lean into the aisle. "Seriously?" he scoffed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This woman's playing action hero? She looks like she missed her train to nowhere." Laughter rippled, sharp and mean. A woman in a tailored blazer, Rachel, her nails painted crimson, whispered to her friend, "Thinks she's in a blockbuster, huh?" But Clara didn't react. She slipped off her worn sneakers, her bare feet silent on the carpeted aisle, each step measured, like she was treading through a fragile memory. Melissa trailed her, heels clicking. "Ma'am, this is for trained personnel only," she said, her voice rising. A kid in row 8, Jake, his hoodie plastered with gaming logos, pulled out his phone to record. "Is she legit?" he muttered to his sister, Lily, who shrugged, popping her gum. The plane lurched, the left engine's hum replaced by an eerie silence. Cups clattered in the galley. A baby's wail pierced the tension. Clara kept moving, the metal piece in her hand, her bag slung over her shoulder. A woman in row 10, gripping a designer purse, stood, her voice shrill. "This is absurd. She's nobody. I've flown this route a dozen times, and this is a disgrace." Her earrings sparkled as she glared at Melissa, demanding answers. Murmurs grew louder, passengers nodding. Clara paused, her grip tightening on the metal. Her shoulders squared, carrying an unseen weight. Melissa stammered, "We're handling it," but her voice was weak. A man in a rumpled shirt, Tom, swayed as he blocked Clara's path, his breath heavy with whiskey. "Hey, lady, you think you're some ace pilot? Sit down and let the pros handle it." Clara's eyes met his, calm but piercing. She stepped aside, her bare feet silent, and kept walking. Tom laughed, turning to the cabin for support, but an older woman in row 11, Sophia, shook her head, her prayer beads clicking in disapproval. At the cockpit door, Captain Reynolds, a man in his 50s with weary eyes, waited. He saluted Clara, sharp and deliberate, the kind of gesture that carried history. The cabin fell silent, Paul's smirk fading, Rachel clutching her purse tighter. Clara stepped inside, the door clicking shut. Inside, the co-pilot, Nathan, a young guy with a buzz cut and a skeptical scowl, turned. "Your Shadow Wing?" he said, disbelief thick in his voice. "Ever flown a 787? This isn't some fighter jet." Reynolds shot him a look, but said nothing. Clara scanned the instrument panel, her eyes moving like she was reading a familiar book. "Flaps flickering," she murmured. "Sensor drift at 5 degrees. Nathan snorted. "Sure, you're the expert." The radio crackled, a technician's voice sharp. "Captain, no outsiders touch the controls. Follow protocol." Clara pulled off her hoodie, revealing a plain gray t-shirt and a faded tattoo on her wrist, Op Delta S7. The ink was old, but it made Reynolds straighten. Nathan missed it, still muttering about amateurs. Clara set her bag down, a faint clink echoing as she pulled out a worn leather notebook, initials LT etched on the cover. She held it briefly, her thumb tracing the letters. "My daughters," she said softly, her voice silencing Nathan's scoff. Reynolds' eyes softened, but he didn't ask. The storm outside roared, the plane tilting. In the cabin, chaos erupted. Paul stood, shouting, "Some nobody in a hoodie's in there? Are you insane?" Rachel, typing furiously on her phone, smirked. "I'm posting this." Plane fail. Lily, scrolling on her phone, whispered to Jake, "They're calling it a hijacking online." The plane lurched again, a tray of cups crashing. Melissa's voice shook as she pleaded for calm. A young flight attendant, Emma, froze near the galley, napkins spilling from her trembling hands. When Rachel mocked Clara's appearance, Emma whispered, "She's not a nobody," her voice firm. A mother nearby, holding her toddler, touched Emma's arm. "You're right. She's doing what they can't." In the cockpit, Clara's eyes locked on a blinking light. She flipped a switch, the panel humming. Reynolds whispered, "That's the old military override. Phased out years ago." The plane steadied slightly. Nathan's skepticism wavered, his arms uncrossing. The radio crackled. Shadow wing cleared. "Proceed." In the cabin, a retired pilot in a worn jacket, George, stood. "I knew a shadow wing," he said. "Saved my unit in '09. If that's her, you owe her everything." Paul scoffed, but his voice was weaker. The radar flickered, Clara spotting a faint signal. "Jamming," she said. Reynolds frowned. In this storm, Clara switched to a secondary interface, green grids and coded prompts. Nathan stared, speechless. The plane leveled out, the shaking easing. Passengers noticed, their voices quieting. Sophia's beads stopped clicking. Paul sat, silent. Rachel's typing slowed. A woman in row 15, clutching a prayer book, stood. "She's keeping us alive. Thank her." Her words silenced the murmurs. Hours later, the plane landed in Sydney, smooth as glass. Emergency lights flashed, reporters swarmed. Clara exited last, her bag over her shoulder, bare feet quiet. Cameras flashed. "Shadow wing," a reporter shouted. "Why hide your skills?" Clara paused, her fingers brushing a photo frame in her boggy young woman in a pilot's uniform, her smile frozen. "I didn't do it for fame," she said. "I did it for someone the world forgot." The crowd hushed. As she walked away, 3 men in plain clothes, former special ops pilots, saluted her silently. A girl tugged her mother's sleeve. "Why's everyone standing so straight?" Her mother, a nurse, smiled. "Some heroes only need one call." Paul's tech firm crashed after his outburst went viral. Rachel's sponsor dropped her. Melissa posted an apology online, her voice breaking. "I judge her. I was wrong." Lily's video of Clara exploded online, comments flooding, "Never judge a hoodie." Clara didn't check her phone. She stepped into Sydney's night, the sky clear, a plane humming overhead. Her fingers tightened on her bag, a scar behind her ear catching the light. She'd done what she came to do. What would you do if you were on that plane, Judge Clara, or trust her? Should heroes have to prove themselves, or is their silence their strength? Drop a comment, like, and subscribe for more stories that make you question everything.